This is my main man, my high school teammate. He should actually have 3 rings. He's an NCAA champion with the '96 Kentucky Wildcats. He's a NBA champion with the 5 or 6 Miami Heat. What year?
2006, baby.
2006 Miami Heat. And man, on the brinks, me and Terrence were talking about it outside. On the brinks of NBA Hall of Famedom, if that's a word, man. I definitely think Twan should be a Hall of Famer just off the strength of the one quote he had about when they asked Twan about shooting, why he shot so many threes. He said, "Because ain't no 4."
Let him know.
That's Hall of Fame worthy in his own right. So without further ado, man, one of my favorite guys I've ever seen put a basketball on the hardwood, man. Our boy, Chicago's own Antoine Walker. Twan, what's good, baby?
What's good, man? Thank you for the warm introduction. I appreciate it.
Man, you already know, man. This is long overdue, man. We had to make sure we got on the soil on and popping and all the way up right before we brought you on. So it's good to have you here, man.
Absolutely, man. I was telling Gene that the show is called On the Soil. I don't think it's too many people that exemplify that more than you. I remember coming up. You know what I mean? And I'm 31, but if you came up in the late 90s, early 2000s, when that summertime hit, if you was outside, you might run into Antoine Walker. You feel me? Yeah, so I definitely have had a ball, watching your career. Love that you still stay on the soil, man. And like Gene said, we've been waiting to holler at you to bring you to the people to tell your story. And we're here to give you that platform, man. We definitely are honored to have you on. And personally, I'm here for the small Mount Carmel reunion. You know what I mean? I've been spending the last 5 years with my brother Gene, and I've heard a lot of stories, about how you got down in Mount Carmel, man. And I can't wait, to see the exchange between you two. So let's go ahead and jump in it, man. I know Gene wants to start from the beginning, and who's better, than him to kick it off.
So Twan, okay. Yeah, man. Let's start from the beginning, Brian. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna pass the mic to you. But I just want to take it way back. I remember the first time I saw you was at Visitation, and we were at a De La Salle tournament. It's crazy that Beasley never got to play Visitation when we were in grammar school, because I think that would have been a great game. But I remember we had just got through winning the game at the De La Salle tournament, and you guys were coming out the locker room. We were waiting to go in, and y'all were coming out. And, man, y'all had like 20 players on the team, and it was a bunch of little shorties. And then the last 2 guys were you and Willie Jones, man. When y'all came out at 6'5" and 6'6" like that, it kind of scared. It didn't scare me because we didn't have to play y'all, but it was like, damn, man, how are these 2 guys in 8th grade? It's unbelievable. So talk about your time at Visitation, man, and how you got to be the number 1 player coming into high school.
No, it's crazy. We probably have 40 guys on the team, Jane. You got the number a little low. It probably is like 40 guys on the team because we played for Coach Mr. Beverly. He believed in never cutting anybody. So he never cutted a kid that came out and tried out for the team. So that's how our numbers got so high. But I really just got to thank Mr. Beverly. He came in and put some structure to having a basketball team at the elementary level, especially at a Catholic school. And I was just always one of those kids that was tall for his age, that was in the class. And it just kind of carried on through that. And then I just had a growth spurt. When I got to 8th grade, I looked up, I was 6'4". And next thing you know, I was like, because I was a huge baseball guy before that. So I was a big baseball, Jackie Robinson West, really locked into playing baseball. A lot of people don't know my history. My uncle, Gene, you know that my uncle played professional baseball for the Cubs and played 18 years in the major league. So my first love was baseball. But next thing you know, I had this growth spurt, and me and Willie Jones, Willie Jones probably is about 6'5". He had me about an inch or 2. And next thing you know, we playing in all these tournaments. It's crazy that we didn't play against you guys. We played against everybody. It's like every elementary school in the city, but we did play against Beasley. But And it just kind of took off from there, man. It kind of just started my career. Started getting a lot of recognition. You know, Chicago, and a lot of people don't notice the history of Chicago has covered basketball like no other city. I think us, New York, are probably the two meccas that cover where you actually get rated as a 8th grader, you know what I mean, a 7th to 8th grader, where you're actually ranking players. And a lot of cities don't do that. I remember, you know, the Sun-Times and the Tribune and those places really covering it and actually writing articles about young players. So it was a big thing, and I just kind of took that on, and obviously was able to be 6'4", 6'5", be considered the #1 rated player, and end up choosing Mount Carmel as a default. I took my test at St. Rita. A lot of people don't know that. I took my entrance exam at St. Rita and really wanted to go there. I wanted to go to King.
Of course.
Everybody, you know, everybody wanted to go to King to get the jacket, to get the dunks. Everybody wanted to go to King. And my mom was like, no public school. I cried like a baby. I couldn't go to public school and end up choosing Mount Carmel. St. Rita was kind of going to be a long travel for me to get back and forth to school. So I ended up defaulting and going to Mount Carmel.
Okay, now, so a lot of people don't know that Antoine's uncle, Chico Walker, definitely played 18 years in the major leagues, played for the Cubs for a stint. And Antoine, I remember when we got to Mount Carmel, bro, and we had freshman orientation, and I walked in and I saw you, I said, damn. Oh, we gonna have a whip by the time we seniors. It's gonna be cracking, right? But I already knew that you was gonna be varsity as a freshman, so cool. But like you said, baseball was your first love. People don't know that. Do you remember when we all went out for the freshman baseball team and you was playing third base, or what was it, shortstop or third base?
I was playing shortstop, and it was about 25 degrees out there, and I was like, man, we can't do this no. It was about 25. I remember. It was shortstop though.
Yeah, I remember that. I try to tell people like, no, Twan was a Jackie Robinson West alum, like Terrence is over here. Y'all share a little something right there.
And you know Gene reps the Southside League, so we got to stand on ours. It's JRW on this side.
Yeah, JRW whooped us all. I told you, we beat Jackie Robinson West one time in my 7 years, man.
But I played for the Pirates and the Ickies.
Oh,
I
damn.
didn't play for Jackie Robinson.
Okay.
I played for the All-Star team.
Okay.
I was on the All-Star team. So I was on the All-Star team for the Little League World Series. So we never got as far as, obviously, the young team that a couple of years ago went. But we got the state. It was tough back then too, though. But I played on the All-Star teams. But I was on the team from the Ickies. I was on the Pirates from the Ickies. And they was taking a player from each team to be on the Jackie Robinson team to actually go out and compete for nationals.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I didn't actually play for Robinson. Yeah, so I was on the Icky team from the Ickies, but I mean that was my first love. I loved it to death. But I'm 6'4", trying to play shortstop. It's 25 degrees, it's still snow on the ground. I was like, nah, it's probably time to focus in on basketball.
The writing was definitely on the wall.
The writing was definitely on the wall, and you definitely did the right thing, man. Let me go ahead and take the reins over on the baseball field, and you put your focus on the court, man. So now we get to Mount Carmel, and like I said, when I saw you at the freshman orientation, you and Willie, and then I saw Donovan, I'm like, damn, man, by the time we seniors, it's just going to be no stopping us. So you said you got to Mount Carmel by default.
Yeah. That's interesting to me, man, because how did you feel going into Mount Carmel after wanting to play with a team like King? Of course, Gene is saying he sees you and he's like, oh, this is a whip. But how did you feel going to Mount Carmel? Did you feel like you had a chance to do something special, even though you weren't going to, where you originally wanted to go?
Well, I knew I could play. I didn't know if we were going to do something special. You always got your, obviously King and the public league was really dominating high school basketball. So you ain't know what to think. All I knew was that my mom wasn't playing it. She was like, listen, education come first. We're going to Mount Carmel. And then, shout out to Paul Rabarchek, who was the head coach at the time. And then Mike Curter was the assistant coach for the team. But they actually really laid out a format to help me get back and forth to school, make it easier for me. They went in and got me a good financial aid package. They just made the situation really good for me. So I felt good going in. I think I was just worried about it, and I'm sure Jane was like it was all boys. So you was like, man, I'm finna go to an all-boys school. That probably was the biggest adjustment. Probably for all of us at that time. That's the only thing you thought about. But basketball-wise, I didn't know what to think. But I also did, James, you said something that was really important. I knew I was going to play varsity, and that was big.
Well, like you said, I knew. You want to? Hey man, let's take one quick break, real quick. Let's pay a bill or two, and when we come back, let's continue the Mount Carmel conversation, man. You're on the soil with the bigs.
WIIFTVPN. The Chicago Legal Network is the collaboration of attorneys that concentrate in many areas of the law most needed in Chicago neighborhoods. The CLN lawyers focus on personal injury, criminal defense, and other issues. The CLN lawyers all average over 20 years of legal experience and are dedicated to helping the Chicago community. The Chicago Legal Network is committed to developing black lawyers through mentorship and co-representation. So if you were injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or injured on the job, or you need assistance with criminal defense, including driving violations and DUI, check out ChicagoLegalNetwork.com for more information or call 773-912-3545. 773-912-3545.
Trigger with instructor Mike on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Why? Why? Because someone told a great guy no. No! God, please, no! No! And he told that no, and he said, fuck it. I'm going to go ahead and turn that no into next opportunity. That's the latest book I just released, What I Tell Myself About No, because children who do not understand the power of rejection and the propulsion that occurs inside it becomes adults who can't take rejection, and your next opportunity could be right around the corner if you just understand how to use that no. And that's why we exist at What's in It for the Black People Media Network, because someone took a no and said, I'm going to create next opportunity. You're not silencing the voice, because that's what's in it for the black people is the truth. Not always what you want to hear. It's the shit that needs to be said, because our ancestors fought and died to give us the right of access. And who the fuck are you to tell me no? Only on What's in It for the Black People Media Network.
Hard work, we're on the go.
Joining Chicago famous
Tony Scope. Was there still that pushback against comedians becoming radio personalities, or was it accepted around that time?
In Chicago, we was used to having some funny on the radio in the morning, so.
I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you.
Man, I remember one time I was at a Bulls game, and I'm at the little concession stand. This dude in front of me, this little OG dude turned around like, yeah, you that cat, you that dude that replaced Dale. We don't like that shit.
Word?
Why are you here? I'm like, I'm just trying to buy a hot dog, sir. I'm just trying to buy a hot dog. And then what make it so bad, when Sam left and I got the job, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm getting ready to do afternoons. She's like, oh yeah, baby. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I'm replacing Sam. So she was like, hold on. Wait, you replacing Sam Silk? Where's Sam going? I'm like, my mama was upset.
Right, your mama.
Right. I'm like, Mama, did you just hear that let me replace Sam Silk? And she was like, okay. Where's Sam going? But yeah, so I think that was the point where I really realized that, I had a chance of actually making it a career.
Chicago famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard.
Well, what was the power of the Bible? Most motherfuckers couldn't read. So the Bible legitimately changed the world because motherfuckers began to learn to read. And once I can learn to read, wait a minute, I can question some of this bullshit you talking
What school
about.
you go to though?
It don't matter.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Well,
I went to Dunbar.
Yes!
That's how Dunbar.
Oh, it's good.
People disrespect the city schools.
This Chicago.
And I'm a motherfucking genius.
And that's on period.
Shout out to the mighty man. Nah, I'm just playing. But seriously though, think about it though, right? The Bible legitimately changed the world, right?
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Tucson Warner and Herb Howard live on What's In It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Hey y'all, this is Salim Muwakil from Muwakil's World. In case you missed the last discussion, this is what you missed.
There was a time when there was a large scale mythology that African people had no endurance. We were only good for sprinting.
Right.
And that was our forte. Other than that, we were useless in marathon races. Establishing your patrimony on the land. If you bury the dead, that means that this land is forever in your family.
Who are our ancestors, really? We are the living ancestors to a whole genealogical line going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years that we carry within us living today. Everyone who preceded us. Mm-hmm. You know, however, that conception took place, whether it was violently, with rape, or whatever the case, but we are them living today.
That's why it's important to understand our capacity, man. Our capacity is unlimited. We have unlimited potential.
Absolutely.
So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1 p.m. on What's In It for the Black People Media.
WIFTBPN.
Up, man, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be telling these niggas, man, shit in the game, man. Shit
Tell 'em,
real.
On the soil with the bigs, man. I'm your man T-Time, coming to you live from the West Center for the Black People Media Studios. Before the break, we were talking about Twan's Mount Carmel days. Gino, let's jump back into it.
Twan, so let's get straight into it, man. So at Mount Carmel, like you said, none of us knew as freshmen what our future held for us. But like I said, I already knew that you would be a varsity player our freshman year. And after I saw you and after I saw Donovan, on the football field and you your freshman year at Carmel on varsity, I'm like, man, these dudes are going to be pros. It's just up to them to see how much better they're going to get, as we progress through life. So back to Mount Carmel, man. So you talked about wanting to go to King, right? Do you remember our junior year? Before we played JV. All the juniors that really didn't get any time on varsity, we played JV every Saturday morning.
Classic.
So I was on my way to JV one morning with BJ Silas, and I accidentally got my hand stuck in between the car door and the garage. It was wild. I was tripping, and I ended up having 7 stitches in my middle finger on my left hand.
This is new to me. Go ahead.
So I was out of practice and out of the lineup for like a whole month. So I just came to practice, sat on the side, watch, learn, watch the guys play. So Twan, do you remember when y'all were doing that drill? We were doing an up and down drill, and you and Willie got into it, and y'all was ready to fight, and Curtis kicked you out of practice?
Yeah, that was I remember that situation so well because that was how Curtis was. He was young coach. He was only like Curtis may have been in his late 20s trying to coach us, early 20s.
Early 20s,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was early 20s trying to coach us. So yeah, I do remember that. And when you're young, you bullheaded. I couldn't believe he kicked me out of practice. I think I wanted to transfer all type of things.
Hold on. Let me tell the story, cause you definitely. So look, so Curtis kicked Twan out of practice. Curtis had this blue Geo tracker outside. So Twan was like, man, Curtis, man, you on bullshit, man. Fuck you, da 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 da. Man, I'm out of here, man. such and such. So, remember I used to take you to the crib all the time. So y'all had moved from the town to the Hunters. So, we on the way to the crib, man. You was so mad, just so mad. Like, man, fuck this, man. I'm about to transfer to King, such and such. I'll never forget, Twan. We was riding on 87th, right past the rink. And I looked you dead in your eyes and I said, fam, you're not transferring to King. Don't do that shit because that's going to be the end of your career. And I remember by the time we pulled up to your crib, your mom was at the front door on the phone with Coach Curtis. And he was he was apologizing and saying he was sorry for kicking you out and that y'all could have had a better understanding. But that was one of the moments in Mount Carmel when I'm like, see, this is a turning point. Either Twan can go one way or the other way. And I guess y'all made up. You got on the phone with him when you got to the crib. Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, we did. We did. And that's the crazy part. But on top of you used to take me on, Coach Curtis used to pick me up every single day. So this is the man used to pick me up on 55th every single day. So this was crazy because I had my own little relationship with him. But when he took over for head coach, and this, Jim, I was a high head. I talk trash, everything. So in high school, I thought I was God gift to the world. So when he started doing that, I was like, okay, I got to get up out of here. But I remember that because our relationship changed completely after that. I ended up having the utmost respect for him. Remember really sitting down and talking to him and really getting to know him and understanding that he was a young coach. And then that I needed him in a certain way because this, Jane, every college coach talks to your high school coach. I mean, every college coach talks to the high school coach to see what type of person you are, to see if you're going to be able to play at that school and all these type of things. So it kind of started us to having a real relationship, real player-coach relationship, and it was something special about it.
No doubt, man. We keep up with Coach on Facebook. Shout out to Coach Mike Curtis,
that's
man.
That's a good one, James. And people don't understand it. And I do want to add this, just so people know. This Coach Curtis is one of my best friends.
Yep.
It has been since that day forward. Very close to his family. He's close to my family. So, for young people that's listening, you can turn a bad situation to a good situation right away. But I just wanted to say that because that is one of my best friends and closest people in my life.
No, that's real. I'm glad you said that, man, because anybody that played for Coach for those last 2 years, we all feel the same way, man. Now that we all older and we get a chance to look back and understand that he was maybe 25 years old coaching a bunch of young black inner city kids that he really didn't know, because now he says, man, I wish I could do it over, because a lot of things that I go back and look back on, I was totally wrong. And we were wrong because, like you said, how we were. We were talented as hell, number one in the state our senior year. But, man, a lot of our practices, we was goofing around. We didn't take the weight room serious. We were just naturally talented guys. And with you being the number 1 or 2 player in the nation, it was basically like you could lead us. And with Donovan being the top 100 player in the nation, you guys could basically lead us for most of the season off athletic ability alone. We didn't need to have to hone in and do what it really took to be a championship team. So definitely glad you said that about Coach Curtis, because he definitely means a whole lot to me. I wish we could have given him more when we were at Mount Carmel. But let's just fast forward, man. So fast forward to our senior year. We're number 1 in the state. You and Felipe Lopez are battling for number 1 and 2 in the nation. We go around, we beating up on everybody, Catholic League, Public League. I tell everybody, man, we beat Farragut at Morris Shootout with Ronnie Fields. We beat Thornton, Thornridge, Thornwood. We beat Simeon. We beat Morgan Park. We beat everybody. So, give me your. So let me give you mine. So my favorite moment at Mount Carmel basketball, our senior year. Now we were ranked number 1, and we were the favorites every time we played. But the only 3 times we were not favored was against Modern Day when we traveled to St. Louis against Miles Simon and them. When we went to Vincennes in Indianapolis, I forgot the team. I think it was Vincennes, and they was like top 30 in the nation. We went and gave them a 40 ball in Indianapolis. You went crazy. And then when we went to, what was that, Indiana? Anderson, Indiana. And they had like 8,000 people, and they had the starting introduction with the Indian and all of that. and they hadn't lost in like 2 years, and we came in there and beat them by 11. But those moments stand out to me. But man, the one moment that stands out to me most, and this is the story that I tell everybody. So remember, we were in Centralia our junior year. We went down there. We ended up losing to Thornton for the Centralia championship. So next year was all about payback. So we get down to Centralia that year. We beat HF by 50. We beat somebody else. We beat Centralia. Or maybe we played Centralia in the finals, but we got to Thornton, I think, again in the semifinals. We ended up beating them by like 15. So we get to the finals against Centralia. And man, I can tell you, because man, I wasn't used to that. When it was them big crowds and all of that, I leaned on you and Don when I would get cold hands and kind of be shook out there. I leaned on y'all to kind of tell me to chill, be cool. Y'all got my back. So I never forget. Man, we was playing. We got to halftime. We was down by like 15 against Centralia. Man, you came in the locker room and went on a tirade, bro. You told all us basically, man, y'all all playing like some hoes. If y'all don't want to play, give me the fucking ball and just get out the way. And we all looked at each other like, man, either we gonna hoe up or glow up. So we kind of held our own when we went out. But man, dog, you went out there, and I think you might have had like 30 points and like 13 rebounds in that second half. You ended the game with like 50 and 25 or some like astronomical numbers. And that's when I knew like, okay, this guy's a pro. You remember that?
Yeah. It was funny you was naming the different games our senior year, but I was going to talk about the Centurion Classic. I think that was a special tournament, man, because we got a chance to travel. We got a chance to stay in a hotel room. We got a chance to stay in a hotel, kind of get that college feel, kind of brought team camaraderie for us. And that tournament was so well ran. You know what I mean? You felt like you was in college. The big crowd used to be sellouts. So I do remember that moment. And I wanted to get that championship. I mean, obviously our goal our senior year was to win the state title, but I wanted to get that. That was on our list, on our checkboard to make sure we win that tournament. And it was just something weird. And it was crazy because I played on a lot of teams. I always tell people a lot of stories, and I played on a lot of different teams. And it's kind of, I got 4 teams that are very special to me that I always tell people about. And the first team is obviously my senior year at Mount Carmel, and playing with obviously yourself and Donovan and Jay Driscoll and Willie Jones. And it's always been special to me because we built a Catholic League school to be dominant in the city of Chicago. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand and know that like you said, we beat all those teams. We wasn't scared of no team. We felt like we could compete. And it was just like, I got that team. Obviously, I got my 96 Kentucky Wildcat team. Was very special to me. We won it all. My 2002 Boston Celtics team, 2001 and 2, that season is when we was able to get the Celtics back in the playoffs. That was a special moment for me as a pro because of that story tradition and getting back there. They hadn't been there in 5 or 6 years. So to be able to do that was special. And then obviously the championship team in 06. But you play in the league, you play with a lot of different guys, and as an athlete, you can play with a ton of people, but it's a lot of teams and stuff that you don't really connect with. And those 4 teams really stand out. But it's just something about my senior year at Mount Carmel, and we always argue. I'm sure, Gene, you go through the same thing with a lot of different public school guys and people around the city.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we were tough. I felt like we did what the Clippers did this year. We underachieved.
Oh, 100%.
We underachieved. So I always, that's always one that you always want to have back. And I think that's what Coach talked about he wish he had an opportunity. And I don't know if you remember this. He did this about right when the pandemic was starting. Man, when he was putting them videos up of them games.
Oh, I watched them all.
Man, I was watching them games, man. I was like, man, we were good. I couldn't believe it.
Twan, I was gonna put people that ain't never seen your high school tape. I had to put my own little high school snippet tape together just so people could know my purpose on the team. I was the only guy that started every game. You had to sit out for the little, I forgot what little sanction thing you had going on with AAU or Adidas camp or something, and then Donovan had to sit out like the first 3 games because of football. So I was the only guy on the team, only starter to play every game. And, you know, I was like the defender. I was the knockdown shooter if y'all kicked it out to me for 3. But I put my own little mixtape together so I could show people. But I was going to put yours together because if you look on the internet, ain't no Antoine Walker high school highlights. So I was going to do that with all of them highlights Coach put out.
Yeah, because he had told me he had did it and he had transformed it over. But that'll be dope. I never thought about putting a highlight tape. I need to call Coach and put that together. I never thought about it. Maybe just putting a highlight tape of our whole season. You know, now technology, I can get that thing to the right hand. Somebody in the NBA that got that different type of technology that gets down to me.
Man,
yeah, that's a good thing. But I just want to reiterate that a lot of people may not know that, but Carmel, my senior year, the '94 team was one of my special teams. I got 4 of them that I was that I felt very special to be a part of, and people to understand how good that team really was. And you can go from top to bottom. I mean, we had a good team, and we had some good young players coming behind that too. So that was even crazy too. We had a really talented group.
Man, let's take it to Kentucky, but I want to let everybody know that. So I remember the first time we played Loyola, the first Catholic League game, dude. We came out, you know, we did our little warm up, we ran around the court, did our layup line. Fam, when I came through the layup line, I laid the ball up, I looked in the crowd, and Rick Pitino was sitting right there. I said, what in the hell is going on in here, bro? My hands froze like they had been in the freezer for an hour, bro.
Is that Pitino?
I said, Rick Pitino in the building. So I never forget, we beat Loyola by like 40. Man, but for, you know, it was like the starting 5 was about to sub out. Man, you got a fast break. You threw the ball off the backboard and tried to dunk it with your left hand. You blew that bitch. Man, Rick Pitino jotted something down on his cardboard, little cardboard scorecard and walked out the gym. And I'm like, damn, he saw what he needed to see. Because obviously everybody knew you were talented. You was the #1 player in the nation. But he knew, he was like, okay, this guy's a hot dog. I got something for him. So, like I said, our senior year, man, you had everybody from Jim Boeheim, Steve Fisher, Jerry Tarkanian, Rick Pitino coming to our building. What made you choose Rick Pitino?
Well, let me start with saying this, Gene. And a lot of people don't understand this, and obviously you do, because we used to have these lunchroom talks. We used to be in the lunchroom in school and how we got through school every day. But we looked forward to, you know how this was. We used to argue about who's gonna go to the better college or what college they're gonna go to. It's totally different now. I mean, you know, not to get too far into it, but it's totally different now. These guys are talking about going pro out of high school, where we were talking about what's the best college that we can go to. You remember me and Donovan used to get in fights?
Yes, sir.
You remember Donovan used to talk about he gonna play both sports and how we competed, even though we did a lot of trash talking, but we made each other work and made each other better by trash talking. People don't even understand that. That's what we used to do all day to get us through school, is talk about sports. But my recruiting process was tough because, like you said, I had all the schools come. Obviously, the Mount Carmel, they came to my home. I had 10 home visits where everybody came into the home and gave their spiel. But I was a Mashburn fan, man. I love Mashburn.
I remember.
Yeah, I was a big Mashburn fan. I kind of had similar, you know, kind of games. And I told Coach I wanted to be like Mashburn, and he was like, look, Mash probably not going to be here, but it's going to be your spot to come in and be able to play right away. Not only that, then he gave me number 24. He said, you can have number 24. And my mom loved this presentation. I went to Kentucky, and I got a glimpse of how they and I actually went after the season. That's what a lot of people don't even know. I didn't even make it during the season. I couldn't get down there during the season. I went after the season and just to see their facilities, the Wildcat Lodge, how they live, how people love the University of Kentucky basketball. It was a no-brainer. He had they were only in their second or third year of changing the program from coming off probation. So when he was just starting to turn it over, they had just lost to Duke. I think Duke in the Final Four. And the style of play, he was like, man, you can come in, you can shoot the three. We're going to press, we're going to run. It was like the perfect scenario for me. So that's how I ended up really picking Kentucky. But that game, Gene, I had 39, though, when he showed up. I missed that dunk, but I had 39.
Man, how you remember you had 39?
You
man?
got to.
Hey, man, when Pitino come in the building, you got to know that.
Yeah, you sent it up, bro. We was beating Loyola so bad. Like I said, you made it easy for me because I'm like, yeah, now I can give me a couple layups and, get back to myself because I was totally shook when I saw that guy in the stands. But we all knew who he was there for.
Yeah, so that was like, when coach come in the building, you gotta put some numbers up, baby.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah, hey, Twan, what was the transition like from high school basketball in Chicago to top level play in college at the NCAA level? Because the reputation that the city has, from breeding the best ballers and everything. So was it an easy transition for you to go from Mount Carmel to Kentucky?
Oh, it was one of the hardest things I ever did in life. It was definitely not easy. You're talking about a kid from 53rd and Emerald.
Yeah, so
you put me in a school with 24,000 students. It was hard. Like the first 3-4 weeks, I was homesick. I had never been away from home. I wanted to come back home. Once we started training, after a couple of weeks of being in school, we started conditioning. And and Gene, like you heard Gene say that we never really took conditioning serious.
Oh yeah.
We never lifted weights really serious. I went to college, I was 190, soaking wet. So when I went to college, I had so much. I had to gain weight. I had to get into some shape. I thought I was in great basketball. I thought I was already in shape. And it was the hardest thing I had to do. I couldn't even running on the track. I can remember running the track, running the stairs, doing things I never did before, lifting, being real sore, couldn't get up the next day, and still had to go to class and do all these things. So college wasn't what I thought it was. I thought college was going to be fun. You get to kick it. But I was on a strict schedule from 8 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night. I had a schedule every day and got one day off a week on Sunday. So it was crazy. So it was a big transition for me. So it took me about 2.5 months. And then also to even add to that, when you come to school, the college coaches tell you everything you want to hear in the world. They tell you you're going to be the best player in the world. They tell you that they're going to play you 30 minutes a night.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when I got there my freshman year, I was playing like 10, 12 minutes a game. Ooh. I'm like, whoa. And I couldn't believe it. And Rick Pitino was like, look, I don't start freshman. There's going to be a process. You're going to have to wait your turn. And I remember coming home for Christmas break, and I thought about transferring. Like, I called Illinois back up. I really thought about getting up out of there. And luckily, when they changed the rule, when you transfer, this is what kept me at Kentucky. If you transfer, you had to sit out.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I can't sit out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing at that time, because my mind was kind of young, that kept me there. And if you look at my freshman year and you look at the progress, when I came back after Christmas, I gradually started playing a little bit more.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, the SEC tournament came and he turned me loose. He finally gave me an opportunity to play. I came in, played well. And next thing you know, I'm the MVP of the SEC tournament.
Yep.
And then after that, it was all she wrote.
Okay, now check this out. Before we end your Kentucky reigns with the NCAA championship, one of our first guests on the soil was Sonny Vaccaro. And oh man, I think he was our first guest.
Very first. Shout out to Sonny V.
And he, I told him that me and you, we played high school together, and he said he could talk about you forever. We talked for a few minutes about you, and I was with you every day, so I know what Sonny meant to you. I know about the Adidas ABCD camp and all of that, but he definitely told us to tell you that he loved you. You were a great guy, and you meant a whole lot to him, in his journey of what he's done.
Man, Sonny Vaccaro, let me tell you how special Sonny is to me. One on top at high school, obviously through Mr. Irvin. God, rest in peace, Mr.
Yes,
Irvin.
sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Irvin introduced me to Sonny Vaccaro, and at that time, Mr. Irvin, the AAU basketball, they were Adidas, and at that time, Sonny Vaccaro was the head guy at Adidas as far as signing players and doing the whole grassroots stuff, all the high school stuff, and it's crazy. We developed a relationship. I went to ABCD camp. Played really, really well, left there top 3-4 player in the country, fighting with Felipe Lopez to be the best player in the country. And from that day forward, Sonny just maintained the relationship with me even through college. And the fun story real quick is when I went pro, kind of jumping ahead, when I went pro or when I was deciding to go pro,
yep,
I called Sonny Vaccaro. So we win the national championship. The next year, I'm thinking about coming back. I'm enjoying college. We're going to be projected to be the number 1 team in the country again. Derek Anderson's finna play. He's, what I mean, we about to be healthy. We got a whole team back. So I'm preparing to start. Coach just named me captain of the team. Like we've been win back-to-back titles. I'm in that mindset. And I remember talking to Mike Irvin at the time, one of my best friends at the time. I talked to Mike, and I was like, Mike, I think I can get pro, man. He was like, man, only person you can call, man, is Sonny Vaccaro. You got to call Sonny and ask Sonny. Man, I called Sonny. I never forget the conversation. He was like, Antoine, I never try to tell guys to leave school early. He said, but I'm gonna get on the phone. He said, give me a couple days, and I'm gonna come back with an answer for you. Sure enough, 2-3 days went by, he called me, and he was like, you're a lottery pick. And I was like, what? He was like, you're a lottery pick. I'm not going to tell you to come out. I'm not going to tell you to stay in school, but you're a lottery pick. Man, I ran to the coach's office, to Coach Pitino. And the crazy part, Coach Pitino was not in. So when he wasn't in the office. So Coach called me. At that time, really wasn't no cell phones. He called my dorm room, was like, look, have one of the managers bring you to my house. We're going to have dinner. I'm thinking he about to curse me out, tell me I'm crazy. What are you doing? Man, we had dinner. Coach was like, I got to let you come out. He was like, I can't even keep you in school. He was like, I got to let you come out. Yes, he said, I know for a fact you're not going lower than 8 in the draft. I was like, man, he was like, I'm letting you come out. And that's how I came out. But just to get back to Sonny, that's how big of a, and then another part of Sonny, like I said, Sonny was the part of it. Sonny is the one that signed me to Adidas.
Okay.
So people don't know that Sonny was the head guy. So I actually sat in the room. It went from crazy to this high school kid, college kid, to now we're in a room discussing, negotiating a contract. It just flipped that fast. Like I just went like, it was like a 360. Now I'm sitting in the room negotiating the contract. And it was crazy because Sonny was going to give me whatever I wanted, whatever market value was for me. He was going to give it to me. And I signed with David Falk coming out.
Yeah.
And you guys can look this story up and you get into this one day, you want to think. Y'all know David Falk and Sonny Vaccaro hate each other.
All day.
So you guys can check that out. I watched them boys fight like cats and dogs in front of me. But guess what they was fighting about? Michael Jordan.
Of course. They just had you in the middle of it, huh?
Yeah, so Sonny wanted to take the deal off the table because he didn't want David Funk to get the percentage.
Exactly, because he was Mike's agent.
Yeah, so Sonny was like, you know what? I'm not going to even be that petty. Sonny even gave me more money.
Oh, wow.
So he ended up signing me. So Sonny Vaccaro, to get back to that, I'm glad you mentioned him, is very special to me. He played a lot of key roles early in my career, giving me my contract, helping me create the whole employee number 8. All that stuff is Adidas. All that stuff was through Sonny, and a lot of people don't know that. And I always got, utmost respect for Sonny, and I always hope that he does well.
No, that's real talk, man. Sonny is definitely one of the all-time greats. Now let's fast forward to your sophomore year, because you said something. Rick Pitino said he didn't start freshman, but then your sophomore year, Ron Mercer came in, and he started as a freshman, didn't he?
Started the first game until I went in the office.
Had to push the button real quick.
What you get on with Coach, man?
Hey, listen. So the second year we was preseason ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
We played Maryland opening night. We beat Maryland, but let's get everybody in the right mind frame. We had 10 NBA pros in that team that went pro. So we're loaded with talent.
That's crazy.
So we played Maryland open night. I played like 25 minutes. First Ron start, so I overlooked that. But we played 25 minutes. Now, I have to give you the story prior to this. So every 4 years, the college gets to go to Europe and play in these Europe tournaments in the summertime. Every university from different times, every 4 years, get to go overseas and play before the school year starts. So that summer, man, I averaged almost 30 points a game over in Europe with the Kentucky team. So, I came into the season like, this is my year. Now, this is the first time going into my sophomore year, I'm actually thinking about pro. Like, start thinking about, man, I could be a pro. I can make it to the next level. And we get to start the first season. We number 1 in the country. So we started Tony Delk at point guard. So you can imagine that he's not a point guard. All this talent, he's trying to make Tony a pro. Ron's at the 2 guard. And we win. We beat Maryland. We did win. But we play UMass the second game of the season. UMass beats us. So we get upset. We number 1 in the country. We get upset. So my minutes wasn't right. I'm like, man, what's going on? So I went in the office like, Coach, what's up? I'm playing 22, 23 minutes. What's going on? He like, well, we're talented, and I'm trying to play everybody. I'm like, well, first of all, and I was snitching. I'm like, first of all, you told me don't no freshman start for you, and you got Ron starting. But I got to get Coach credit. He looked me in my eye and was like, "You right. He got to come out the starting lineup." He was like, because he told me, it's like, he was like, man, you're right. I did say that. We're going to take him out the lineup. And from that day forward, he asked me to sacrifice. He said, look, I need you to sacrifice your scoring, rebound more. I need you to get double-doubles. I need you to be the most unselfish player on the team, and we can win a title. And I just listened to him, and I just got better and better and better at it. But even to elaborate on that season, people don't understand. I know I argue and I can be very biased because I was a part of it, but we're top 3 best college teams ever. I don't know what order you want. I don't know what order you want to put it in, and it's a lot of great teams, but we top 3, man. We won by a margin of 24, 25 points a game. If you look at, that's why our numbers, we never really can have big stats. I used to sit out the last 10 minutes of games.
Hey, man, stop there, Twan. Check this out. I'm not gonna disagree that y'all was top 3. I would say, everybody's gonna say UNLV, Michigan, and one of them Duke teams, obviously, but definitely top 5. Top 3, that's arguable, but it ain't top 5, it ain't arguable. But check this out, man. I definitely know, and that was the best thing Coach Pitino could have ever told you, and for you to buy into it, because I went down to Southern University in Baton Rouge. So, I used to call and check in on you every now and then just to see how everything was going. I would see you on TV doing your thing, but I had to talk to you just to, to check your temperature and see where your mind was. So do you remember y'all sophomore year, I called you, y'all were coming to LSU. I say, Twan, G, I need 4 tickets to LSU game. You like, man, I got you. Don't even trip. Now, mind you, we came to LSU like 12 deep. I brought everybody from Southern because you know how I'm like, no, Twan is that's my man. That's my high school teammate, Joe. I got us. Man, we came to LSU 12 strong, Joe. So, we were waiting to get in, waiting on the tickets to come to will call. So we go down low. We see a limousine pull up. They open the door. It's Dick Vitale, Joe. So I'm with my boy, Vincent Butler, Lil V.
Okay.
It's me and Lil V, right? We downstairs. Dickie V hopped out the car. We like, Dickie V, what up, baby? He like, oh, what's up, baby?
What up, baby?
How you guys doing? I'm like, man, we all good. We from the Chi. We here to see Antoine Walker. That's my old high school teammate. He lost it. Oh, Antoine Walker. He's a PT peer, baby. He's awesome with a capital A.
He's talking like that.
He started going
off the mic to you.
Man, to me and Lil V. He's awesome with a capital A. He was just going crazy, right? So we get there. So I'm waiting on the tickets. But mind you, I got 12 guys with me. Twan, do you know we broke into the LSU? We broke into LSU,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Into the gym. We was 12 deep. We was sitting on the baseline. Dude, y'all beat LSU by like 50 points, fam. You definitely had like 12 and 12. And the wealth was just spread. You, Anthony Epps, like you said, Walter, Mark Pope, goddamn Tony. It was so many of y'all. Just everybody. It would seem like everybody had 11 points, and y'all beat LSU so bad.
Let me tell you how confused you are. You are 100% right. We beat them by like 50, but that was my coming out party.
No, you right.
28. I had 28 in the first half.
Damn. You right about that because I think I bragged on you. Like, yeah, he did that for his boy.
Yes, sir.
I had 28 in the first half, and that was like my coming out party. Even though people I was already up there, but that took me to the next level. I had 28 in the first half, and I'm gonna tell you another fun fact about that game. Remember Randy Livingston?
All day.
That was his first game back from his knee injury, and I felt bad for him. He couldn't get it over half court.
No, they couldn't. Boy, y'all was stealing inbounds passes. You stole an inbound. You stole 2-3 inbounds. Y'all had that wicked press. Y'all steal the ball. It was so many dunks. It was ridiculous how bad y'all beat LSU.
Hey,
man.
That's crazy that you was at that game. That was my coming out party. It was Randy Livingston trying to come back off his knee injury against us. Man, coach was like, we're going to wear his ass down. We wore him down. And that's the first time in my 2 years of being around Coach Pitino that he could not say one thing at halftime. It was crazy. Like, he came in the locker room. We was up. I mean, you remember, we probably was up 35, 40 points at half. Man, the man came in the locker room was just like, bring it in. That's the first time we ever saw Coach not say 2 words. It was crazy.
No, yes, man, Twan, that's crazy. I'm having a ball just being a fly on the wall right now while y'all go back and forth and running off memories and everything. I feel like I don't want to miss anything, but I want to ask you, man, what was it like to go ahead and, come out and you're going through the draft process? Like you said a minute ago, everybody's telling you you're not going, past number 8. You ended up being the 6th pick in the draft to the Celtics. What was that like? Was that everything that you thought it would be?
It was hard, but it was everything. So for me, what I did, and you see a lot of guys, I stayed in Kentucky. So when I put my name in the draft, I never left school. So you guys know my guy Nazi. Obviously, Nazi, one of my closest friends. Me, Nas, and Alan was my other teammate. We lived together. So we kept our place. And I would just work out twice a day. So when I got ready for the draft, I worked out from the 2nd pick to the 11th pick. So I had 9 workouts. So when I went to those 9 workouts, they were hard. It was a process, but I was in great shape. I was in the best shape of my life. I mean, I was on top of my game. And the program was so much more wide open than the college game. So it fit right in. So the process was everything I thought it would be, and even more. So I went through that process of going through, working out, worked out for 9 teams, and then you get that week before you go to the draft for the week, and then that's when it all soaks in that you're about to get drafted. And you kind of go through that process of, I made it, Allen Iverson in the building, Stephon Marbury, Ray Allen. You kicking it for a week with those guys, the same
Killer
guys
draft.
the same guys you just went to camp with, all high school, and you competed with, and you read about each other in magazines, and now you all hanging out for the week, and we doing all these photo shoots and all this stuff for the draft. So it started to hit me right when I got to New York for the draft, and then obviously draft day with your family, you nervous. One thing I can say about the draft, you hear about a lot of people talking about what team they want to go to. You don't care what team you want to go to.
Real.
On draft night. You just want to hear your name called and walk across that stage. And draft was kind of weird because my best workout was Minnesota, and they were picking 5th. That was my best workout. And they needed a point guard. The year before, they had just drafted Kevin Garnett. So it wasn't going to come back and draft another so-called power forward, small forward like Garnett. So Kevin McHale just flat out called and told me, it's like, look, I got to pick Steph. I got to pick Steph. So we need a point guard bad. I'm going to take Steph. And all of a sudden, the Celtics, I don't know if you remember the big kid from North Carolina, they traded Eric Montross.
Yes, sir.
They traded Eric Montross up to the Dallas Mavericks for the 6th pick. Dallas was picking 6, and Boston was picking 9. And Boston didn't think I would make it to them at 9 because New Jersey had pretty much told me and guaranteed me I was going 8. So Boston moved up. Ironically, they moved up right after the 3rd pick. They got the trade done, and Carlin was like, they taking me 6, and the rest was history. So, and the crazy part about it, to add to that, Boston was I wouldn't say it was my worst workout, but they didn't work me out long. They only worked me out for about 45 minutes, where other teams were like 2.5 hours and just doing a lot of stuff. Boston was like 45 minutes and more of an interview. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they liked me or they didn't like me. It was weird, but they saw me for 45 minutes. They saw enough. They didn't need me to go through a whole process of that.
So you get drafted by the Celtics. Rick Pitino ends up being a part of the front office and also being the head coach. And we, like we said, we know about the relationship you had with him. So we fast forward a little bit. You make your mark in the NBA. You're the face of the Boston Celtics, who are really trying to start that new regime after the old Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish days. They're trying to, upgrade and update the system a little bit. And the kid from the south side of Chicago is now the face of the Boston Celtics. So you go through that. You up for the new contract, and you sign the 6, because I remember all you guys, you, AI, a couple other guys, y'all all signed that 6-year, $71 million contract, right?
Maxed out, right?
Yep. We came out. So what happened was the collective bargaining agreement was up in 1999. So that was going into our 3rd year. And contractual wise, it was crazy. They was just starting to give out $100 million contracts. So a lot of guys were starting to get a $100 million contract. Well, a few guys. I think maybe
Juwan,
Garnett. It was a few guys that starting to get them. But in our class, myself, Iverson, Ray Allen, Steph Marbury, all of us were going to be due up to get one. But anyway, the lockout happened in 99. We did not get the collective bargaining deal that we had wanted as players. So the max they ended up putting a rookie scale and all that stuff was already in place, but they ended up putting a cap on it. So it ended up getting locked in at $71 million. And the years were long. So 6 years was a long term. That's a long deal.
Right.
So you end up getting, the years were long, but we end up signing, all of us end up signing those deals. But Rick Pitino came in my 2nd year. ML Carr was the head coach and GM my 1st year. So Rick Pitino came in, and which was great for me. I mean, I made the All-Star team in 98. He moved me from small. People don't know, I was a small forward my whole rookie year. And my 2nd year, I went to power forward, which was worked better for me because now I can really use my skill set to take, back in 98, it was real power forwards. Like, it wasn't like, the Giannis's, the Kevin Durant, and all these guys. It was like the Charles Oakleys, the Dennis Rodman.
The old-fashioned
Carl
bruise you up.
Karl Malone, these was traditional power forwards. So moving me to the 4 gave me an offensive advantage to be able to use my ball handling and make passes and stuff like that. So coach did a good job of that. The problem with Rick Pitino as a pro coach and what we bumped heads at, impatient. Impatient. He traded Chauncey Billups after 41 games his rookie year. It just was a very impatient coach, but it was tough for him because he come from winning 80% of his game.
Exactly.
That period.
And he didn't, and he wore both hats. I probably played. He was there 2.5 years. I probably played with 50 players. That's too many players to play with in the NBA.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, NBA, you got to build something. I mean, you're gonna change the bottom half of your roster, but you're gonna keep your core 6, 7, 8 guys, and he didn't do that. And that's what we bumped heads at a lot. Obviously, me being the face of the franchise, we bumped heads, and he ultimately couldn't take the pressure of losing and rebuilding, and he ended up leaving. So, and it's crazy. Our relationship was tarnished for a little bit, and then we obviously regained it, after he left there and, got his mind back right. But, it was tough, but he was great for me. He gave me, it's two things he did. I made the All-Star team. He put me in a better position to kind of kickstart my basketball career as a good player. And then obviously, he the one who gave me my contract.
Yeah.
Twine.
He was a GM.
Man, after you got the contract, how did that change things back at the crib?
It changed a lot. Obviously, it was some things I wanted to do. Like any kid, when I went pro at 19, I had no concept. In Gino, I come from very humble beginnings, so I never had no money. So my first contract was a 3-year, $5.5 million deal. So I'm like, man, on paper it sounds like a lot of money, but I'm living in Boston. So my first year, I never forget this. I made $1.6 million my first year. So after taxes, I probably saw like 900. But I bought my mom a house.
Okay,
that was $500,000. I bought me a condo. That was like $250 in Boston. A couple cars. You had the furniture. So technically, after my first year, I was in debt, and you really don't even know it.
Yeah.
So I was in debt my first year. So it was a lot of things that I wanted to do that I couldn't do. So when I got that max contract, that second contract, that was like, now I could get everything I wanted to get accomplished. And that was building my mom a home from the ground up.
Yeah.
Let her build her home. I can get me a bigger place. And all other things that's well documented. I had fetishes, especially when I got max. I love cars at the time. So I used to buy cars every fucking 2-3 months, buy different cars. At the max, I probably had 8-9 cars at one time. Clothes fetish. So, when I came in the league, it was different. We had a dress code. And this is why Allen Iverson gets a lot of kudos, because Allen Iverson changed the culture about being able to wear your own clothes and having your own style.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you had to wear suits. And then it got out of control, and then David Stern made it mandatory.
Yeah, all right.
Mandatory that you dress up. But when I played for the Celtics, you used to have to wear a suit to the games, and you had to wear a suit on the plane. You had to put a tie on. So I had a real clothes fetish. I used to get a bunch of clothes made. Wasn't really I got into jewelry probably more in the middle of my career, but a lot of those fetishes that you have financially that you want to get done, that's what changed for me mostly. I finally got to get the things I always wanted. Because that first contract, things would look a little scarce. You had to pump your brakes a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I didn't really understand the value of a dollar back then, and understand taxes and all that stuff, and how much money that we actually had to pay in taxes. And just to kind of fast forward, to learn that you got to pay taxes in 30 states.
Every state you play in, right?
Every state you play in, you pay an entertainment tax.
Yeah.
On top of that, you know what I mean? I was very fortunate and blessed to make a ton of money in my career, but half of that went to taxes. People don't understand. I paid $55 million in taxes.
Unbelievable, bro.
Man,
so a lot of and it's no excuse, but it's something when you're a kid, and I don't remember Gene taking a finance class at Mount Carmel.
What?
I don't remember taking one at Kentucky. You know what I mean? I remember
absolutely not
getting out. I remember $25 a week and trying to make sure we got meals. I remember shooting dice in the bathroom, Gene, trying to get some money for the week.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Those the type of story. That's the type of stuff that I remember. So when I turned pro at 19, I don't know what the value of a dollar is and understand taxes. I'm thinking 1.6 is 1.6.
Crazy, bro.
I'm not thinking about the taxes, the stuff that come along with it. So those are kind of things. So that first contract was a shocker, financially to understand the money. And then that second one, I was able to get all the things that kind of create this very expensive lifestyle that I ended up living for about 7-8 years.
And man, you basically came back to the crib, and you put the city on your back, basketball wise and financially. Like T said, there was no time that you could go out and not see Twan somewhere. It was like whether it was at the White Palace or whether it was at whatever ice bar or whatever club y'all was holding down during the week, or if it was at Fernwood when y'all was doing the Mike Finley, Jawan, when y'all had that run, or wherever it was, you could find Twan on the soil, basically. But I want to know, like you said, since I know your whole history in the background of where we came from. When was the first time that you knew that you were in trouble financially?
I really never knew because I was actually okay. A lot of people have misconceptions of how I probably I lost my money. I lost my money in real estate.
Right.
So the problem is that I trusted in the individual. I don't get into names and all that. Everybody knows that part, but I trust the individual to run the company. And basically, people that had money or followed the economy under 07 to 010, I would say 07 to 010, we were in a recession. And we started this company back in 01. So for about 6 years, we were making decent money. We had I had compiled probably 150 properties, all in the south side of Chicago. From whether it was rental property, commercial property, you name it. I had undeveloped property. I owned a bunch of lots and land. But the thing was, and my deal was very unique. So basically what I did, because one, I did trust the person, but I didn't trust him to actually take money out of accounts and stuff like that. So I basically put up my personal contract or my personal financial portfolio to get money from banks. So we borrowed money from about 8 banks and different credit lines, but strictly for real estate. So the money couldn't be touched, only for real estate base. So if we found a building that we liked, the bank would send an appraiser out, and if their appraisal matches our appraisal, then the bank will lend us the money, obviously, for the property. And we did that, obviously, with all our deals. And 07 hit, the recession was taking place. The banks did not want to lend any more money. But the whole problem was, and this is the problem, what people think I knew, I didn't know. I never knew that we were having a problem, that the banks was not lending no more, and banks were taking us to court. That was his job to handle the everyday transactions. And he was not handling it for whatever reason. Come to find out later, he had his own personal thing, and he ended up going to jail for some other stuff that had nothing to do with me. But he has his own thing going on, and he neglected our company. And our company was in our name. It's in my name. And it also was, I was the personal guarantor for this money. And basically, when I bought all this property, he went there. So I basically lost every court judgment for all this property because I didn't know. And let me tell you a story how I found out that broke my heart. We owned a building on the south side of Chicago, and one of the pipes bust. And I don't know if, Gene, you may have saw this. Both of you guys may have saw this article.
Oh, yeah.
The pipe bust.
Oh, yeah.
And I never knew the pipe bust. And the family found out Walker Ventures was Antoine Walker. And they went to the papers. And this is before social media, you guys. So when you go to the paper, this is when everybody would go to the papers and stuff. And I was labeled, I was on the back of the cover of the thing as a slum
lord. Yep, I remember.
Yeah, you remember that article. That article right there, my mother called me and told me that I was in the paper for that. And when I come to find out what happened, that spearheaded me to get into what's going on with my company. And come to find out we defaulted on all these judgments and all these things. And it got to the point where it's really black and white. I'm the personal guarantor. I basically put my money up to get these loans, and the banks wanted their money back. They did not want to be a part of anything to do with real estate. And that's how people in the real estate game that end up getting all these cheap properties is through situations like mine, because they end up, the banks get stuck with all this property. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I had to pay that money. So I got a situation where after the estimated value was about $22 million, something like that. I was in good shape financially. I probably had like 20 million, everything all in with assets, liquid cash, and putting everything in. And basically, after talking to lawyers and figuring it out, I was a young man. I felt like, and I'm going to be honest with you, I really felt like I was going to play another 3 to 5 years in the NBA, even if I filed bankruptcy. And if I did that, I would. So I did. So I took Chapter 7, and Chapter 7 means that I'm trying to get debt free. I could have took 13 and just took some really big payments, and I probably would have been in debt for, I mean, I don't know how long, 22. I probably been in debt the rest of my life. But I was like, you know what? I can get debt free. I can start over. I still can have a very, very good life. And that part was right. I ended up getting debt free after a couple years. But the problem was no team picked me up. I never got back in the league. So you got to think the veterans minimum was going to be like, at that time, I think it was like 1.5, 1.6. So you figure at the worst, if I do that for a couple years, that's going to get me back on my feet.
Right.
Yeah, man.
But that never happened. So that was the reason why. So I never really sensed that I had financial trouble because I always was good. Regardless of the expensive lifestyle and everything, I had a very good financial advisor. He did a really good job. It just, when that not knowing and putting my trust in someone else, ended up come back biting me. And it was nowhere around it. And I would, obviously now I go around doing this, but I'm just saying, can never be a personal guarantor, anything, just not worth it.
What do you think? Why do you feel like you never got that opportunity in the league again?
I think people put a black cloud over my head. Negative articles, negative things. You Google your name. It's not about basketball anymore. It's about, financial problems and those type of things. I think, teams and GMs are very leery of negative energy. And you see that now in sports with a lot of guys. I mean, you look at, you want to see, just take say a J.R. Smith. It took him a long time to sign because he's got negative energy, even though he probably never did nothing. But we see a lot of guys that get negative energy when they see you outside the box. They see you not really, it looks like you're not focused on basketball. So the look was bad. And then also to add to that, another reason I thought it was another negative thing, they tried to put gambling and that's the way I lost my money. They tried to put all that stuff in. So you got to think it's him, and they looking at that. That's what they're looking at without sitting down with me and actually like asking me questions and asking me what happened and what's going on. So I think when you get that, that's what happens. And that's when you see, I mean, we see a lot of guys, we obviously we congratulate a lot of guys when they get 18, 19, 20 years in, but they able to get those years in because they kind of tote the line. They don't get in any trouble. They do all the right things. They say the right things. Their image looks clean. So a lot of teams are more have to take an opportunity on them. But that's why basketball-wise, I thought I was another thing that was crazy. When I filed bankruptcy and going through my problems, I went down to Louisville to talk to Coach Pitino and stayed with him 6 months. A lot of people don't know this. I stayed with him 6 months at the time when he was going through his personal problems too. With the girl, with the woman and all that stuff, when he was going through his own personal problems. And we kind of had each other to lean off of. But I went down there, lost 30 pounds, got in great shape, was ready to go, ready to get back in the league, worked out for a few teams, and nothing ever happened.
Man.
So that was the reason. But back to the original question, I never knew. Lack of knowledge, man.
Man, I feel like it's, what you said about, the true story and the true reasons why, you fell into the money problems is so important to your story because like you said, I feel like people fall back on the fact that they see you in the club, they see you with the cars, they see you with, the entourage, and I feel like they draw their conclusions based on that. But I feel like you got to tell the people what you've learned, from that time. And, if you have any regrets, what were they? What would you do different, about the off the court stuff?
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is, well, you guys probably don't know, but this journey started back probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So basically, just coming up, and it kind of inspired me to do the documentary, and the stuff was to turn my story, a negative story, into a positive story, and to be more of a learning tool for guys. I did feel like I need to tell my side of the story, whether it gets me anywhere or not get me anywhere. I just something that I needed to do personally, because you with the people gonna always pose these different things story. But anyway, by me filming that documentary gave me an opportunity over the last 5 years to be in the public light and to be around the NBA and college athletes and share my testimony.
Yeah.
So this year I finally, this past year, prior to the pandemic, I got my dream came true. I got an opportunity to be on the financial education team for the NBA. So I spoke to we did 26 out of 30 teams before the pandemic happened. So, but I got an opportunity to get back in front of my peers and share my testimony with the guys. And it's great because it's what I always thought it should be. It was a conversation, the same conversation like I'm having with you guys. We were able to have a conversation about finances and share stories and share different advices, and they can hear my side of the story. Because the crazy thing about this, and I'm not saying every athlete, because everybody's brought up a little different, but about 75 to 80% all go through the same thing.
Right.
They all have entourages. They all have families. They all have things they want to do. They all got expensive lifestyles, things that they want to do, how they want to live. And, one thing about us that we don't talk about, and one thing I always try to tell people, is we're a little different than white people, and I hate to say white people, but they're a little different, is they think about generational wealth.
Twan, no, don't hate to say it, bro. This is the reality, man. This is real talk. Go ahead.
So it's just, we don't think about generational wealth. You know what I mean? We make enough money as athletes and entertainers for ourselves, our kids, and their kids. And we don't think about that. We live more in the moment, and we don't think about the future. And that's really the negative part about us having money sometimes, because we don't do the right things to ensure not only ourselves, but we don't ensure our family and our kids down the line. And it's the big thing, and when you see the example, and I wish somebody would do a study, is when we get out of college, where the typical white kid has a little nest egg to start their life, and they're debt free because their parents have put them up a college fund.
Yeah.
So they're not coming out in debt, where a lot of us African Americans are coming out of college in debt. Got to work our way out of debt before
staying in debt. Yep.
Yeah, so we can get to the positive part. And sometimes, as people that have money, we don't set those things up for our kids as well. So those are some of the things I try to talk to the guys about. I try to tell guys it's a very short window of when you can make this type of money. I played 13 years in the NBA. Unbelievable, great, win trading in for the world. But you retire. I'm retired at 32, 33 years old. I got the rest of my life to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everybody's not going to play 13 years. I mean, you're going to get guys that play 20. Some you're going to get guys that play 10. So it's a very short time. And then I also tell guys they got to understand, and we mess this word up, but you are a CEO. You are the CEO of your company.
Yeah.
And at 18, 19 years old, you're hit with a lot of responsibilities. You become head of the household immediately just because of the finances, without the education. So you just try to put guys in the right frame of mind. And then honestly, it's a tough thing to do. And is you got to get the word no in your vocabulary. And you got to say no to some of the most influential people that in your life. And you got to be a little selfish. And it's tough to do. And I was never a no guy. But how can it's tough, because if your mom and dad have took care of you your whole life, and uncles and aunties, and they've all made sure you were straight and good, you want to do the same thing. But those could be the people that drain you down the line. And you just try to help guys understand that having the word no in your vocabulary is not the worst thing in the world. But it's this past year was great for me to be in the room with those guys again, to have that personal contact, and to be in the room and see a LeBron James and share his financial. And it's always a little different. Yeah, I think LeBron's in a different playing field than everybody in there.
Yeah.
LeBron's working a $1 billion ticket. You know what I mean? So it's different to hear his stories and have those guys have that collaboration. One of the big things the league's like is Kawhi Leonard never talks. I had Kawhi Leonard talking. He never talked, but he was engaged and talking. So to see the guys engaged and getting something out of it, you guys will be surprised, man. After the meetings are over with, so many guys call and text me and ask me, because money is different. Like, us three, we could be in front of each other. We probably don't want to share our financial situation. That's just people are not comfortable with sharing their financial situation. So to get these phone calls from different guys and wanting to make sure that they do the right thing, and it may just be a simple question: how to handle my mom, or what did you do with your mom in this situation? How did you handle your uncle and aunties? It's those little things. So,
hey, Twan,
I've been very therapeutic over the last 5 or 6 years, guys.
No, hey man, we appreciate all of the knowledge and all of the gems you drop, man. We got about 3 minutes left, and I want to just thank you from me and Terrence, man. Thank you for spending this entire couple hours with us, just building and dropping gems. But
yes, sir.
I got two things, man. I got something personal that this is the first time that I'm really going to acknowledge it, and I don't even want you to dwell on it because, it's the past. But man, I was hurt, man, when you got to the league, and now that I'm grown, I understand, and I completely understand more just what you just said. Like, sometimes you got to tell people no and things like that. But I was, people would always hit me up, ask me, man, you ain't with Twan. Twan didn't buy you no car. Twan didn't buy you no house and none of that stuff. And it was like, I never wanted that from you because we were friends when neither one of us had nothing. When I was driving you to the crib in the Corolla.
Real shit.
But I definitely thought that, man, I would be part of the crew and, I could get to come to the games and do all that and just find my own niche. Like, I never wanted to leech off you or get no money or none of that from you. But I was definitely kind of tight when I wouldn't say you left your boy behind now, again, because I understand it. But that's just something that I wanted to get off my chest. Because even through all of that, man, we've remained cool. We remain tight. Nothing can change, the brotherhood where we came from with Mount Carmel. And it's just a blessing to see, like you said, you played 13 years in the league, and you're able to tell this story and turn, a bad thing into something good and being able to give back. But before we get out of here, man, we need one Michael Jordan story from you that don't nobody know about.
What would I have so many. What would be? That's like a loaded question when you talk about.
I feel like after watching The Last Dance,
I would just say this. Let me just tell this story.
Okay.
Real quick.
We got 2 minutes.
All right, so we losing the playoffs, and I'm in the league or whatever. It's 2001. We just got lost at the playoffs. I'm back in Chicago. I'm driving. I get a private call. You remember you used to get private calls back in the day. I get a private call, answer the phone, and it's Michael Jordan. I'm like, yo, man. He like, man, it's Mike. I'm like, damn, I'm like in shock. Like, I don't even know what to say. And he was like, listen, I need you to get all the guys together. I hear you the guy that's been doing the runs. I need you to get all the guys together. You can't tell nobody, but I'm thinking about making a comeback. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, shit. All right. I ain't went on vacation yet. I ain't did nothing, bro.
That's like, over.
Shit. But Mike, I'm like, Mike called, my whole life changed. I done reworked my whole life now. I'm at home. And at this time, I used to just hoop every day. Fernwood, LeClaire Courts. I never worked out with strength coach and none of that. So Tim Grove is his strength coach. So the first day I meet Mike, he's like, I want you with me every day. So every day at 10 o'clock, I used to be with Michael. I lift weights, then we do our shooting drills together, then we play at 2 o'clock. And we just built this bond. Like, he just strived and pushed me to be better, to work on my body, to be a better player, teach me how to win, to be even more competitive. And, I always thank him for that. And when I won my chip, he's the first person I called because he always told me, man, if you don't if you don't win it, that don't mean nothing. You got to be a champion. It's all about being a winner.
Huge.
Sacrificing. So that was like one thing that always stuck out. And I'm going to take 10 seconds at Gene. The one thing, and it's crazy that you say what you said about that, that's the process that you got to help guys with. And that's the thing. When you get money, your life changes in an instant. And at 19, you just take off.
I get it, bro.
You become that CEO, and it just comes from everywhere. And it's not always a good excuse, because you try to always bring in and keep everybody with you. But at the same time, that's the things that I try to tell guys. And that's where the mistake happened with me, and not being true, trusting somebody that wasn't in my camp from day one.
No, that's real.
Not because I side. It's the bigs, it's the bigs. They calling us the bigs, it's the bigs, it's the bigs. But not because I side. It's the bigs, it's the bigs. They calling us the bigs, it's the bigs, it's the bigs. But not because I side.